Hi guys, welcome to Georgia Peach Prepping. Y'all know how it goes. I'm going give it a few minutes to see if some people come in. I'm still looking up stuff anyway. It's been a crazy. I know I'm running late. I usually do this at 5:30, but I had to take someone to town to do some shopping. And y'all know how that goes. You can't just there and come right back. Usually I do, but hi, Miss Southern Belle. I'm doing good. How are you? I've actually got quite a bit pulled up today to go over between the news and couple of couple of other things. Once it hits the 4 minute mark, I'll go ahead and get started. I actually just got back home and uh I got a bite to eat and I was running late. That's the reason why I had to reschedule for 6:15 instead of 5:30. You know how it is when you take people shopping. You're on their time, not your own. Still trying to get my caffeine in my system. I am in Jeff Davis County, which is about 4 hours south of Atlanta and 2 hours north of Jacksonville, Florida. And so, as a very, very small, a lot of people, them from Georgia, that know where Jeff Davis is. But the county's a little town, Hazelhurst, was named after a train engineer. It has been warm. It really has. I wore shorts to, in which I know we've got some severe weather moving in tomorrow night, I believe it is. So Whereabouts are you from in Georgia, Miss Southern Belle? Excuse me. I don't know how much I'll keep up with Peppermint Patty. Ah, awesome. I've been through there quite a few times. But I had caught a snippet of one of Peppermint Patty's press conferences, and I didn't watch it that day, but I caught the news clip. As a matter of fact, when I got home a while ago, from December 1st, she's holding a press conference supposedly at the White House, and a airplane went over. Last check, the White House had, oh, but last time I checked, the White House had a no-fly zone. You know, you're not permitted to fly within the area. So I'm not sure what kind of plane it was, but I'm gonna do some more checking into that and see what I find out. But I figured, I'd bring that to y'all and tell y'all about it. My computer wants to act the fool. But all right, we'll go ahead and go on with the news. Maybe some more people will come in. Um, let's see. How in the world I have no clue. All right. NATO chief rejects Russian demand to deny Ukraine entry. Stoltenberg, rejected Russia's call for the West to withdraw its invitation to Ukraine to join the military alliance. She has rejected the Russian demands to rescind the 2008 commitment to Ukraine that the country would one day become a member of the Western Military Alliance. The remarks came on Friday after Russia's foreign ministry said that NATO should formally scrap a 2008 declaration to grant membership to Georgia and Ukraine, two former Soviet republics. NATO's relationship with Ukraine is going to be decided by the 30 NATO allies and Ukraine, no one else, Stoltenberg told reporters in Brussels on Friday. Russia annexed Ukraine's Crimea region in 2014 while allegedly supporting separatist rebels in the country's eastern Donbass region. Russian troops also occupy two breakaway regions in Georgia. In the past few weeks, Russia has moved about 100,000 troops to Ukraine's border, sounding alarm bells in Washington and at NATO's Brussels headquarters. On Thursday, U.S. President Potato Head and his Ukrainian counterpart Zelensky, days after he spoke with Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin, the U.S. president urged the Russian leader to take the path of diplomacy to de-escalate the situation or face harsh economic sanctions. Y'all have heard me say it before, and I'll say it again. Potato Head ain't done nothing but poke the bear since he come in office. And the bear is not one to be messed with. And as bad as I hate to say it, I honestly believe it's about to come to a head. I really do. But while we're on the subject of Russia, we have a lovely, lovely Republican senator from the great state of Mississippi. And I mean that in all honesty. I like Mississippi, don't get me wrong. But Republican senator mentions nuclear strikes when asked about possible U.S. action against Russia. Because this is a member of the hang on, Armed Forces panel member. And guys, we all know Putin heard it. You know, the man's got ears on the ground here, just like we have ears on the ground in Russia. A GOP senator who sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee casually suggested that the U.S. could enter a massive ground war with Russia in defense of Ukraine as Russian troops are amassing near the country's borders. Senator Roger Wicker made the comments during an evening interview with Fox News host Neil Cavato. And it's not going to let me read the rest of it. But guys, you know, it don't make no sense. It really doesn't. Hello, Jack. How are you? Awesome. North Carolina is a beautiful state. I completely understand. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. But guys, senators and whatnot should not be speaking on something like this. You know, they'll wind up getting us attacked, for a better way of putting it. I'm not saying they are. You know, I'm not a fearmonger. I never have been and never will be. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you, Miss Southern Belle, for giving us a shout out. I appreciate that. We were at 54 subs and we dropped back down to 50, so I'm not sure if that's because people's not commenting or what's going on. But I've had numbers fluctuate several different times, so I did have the opportunity to look. The U.S. has a no first strike policy. Now, whether or not Potato Head will, you know, keep to that, I'm not sure. I hope and pray he does it, because from my understanding, the missiles that Russia has could hit us before ours could get over there to where they are. You know, with their hypersonic missiles. But the no strike policy was first came into effect during the Cold War. Thank you, Mr. Jack. Take care as well. Have a good night. Don't work too hard. All right. While we're on the topic of Ukraine and Russia, I did do a little bit of background check on it. Ukraine and Russia has been at loggerheads for years and years. Hello, Miss Susan. How are you? I'm glad you did. It's okay. I understand completely. You can always catch the replay later if you want to. Ukraine has struggled to forge an independent path torn between Europe and the United States in the West, and its long-standing ties to Russia in the East. The conflict in Ukraine is viewed by some as part of a renewed geopolitical rivalry between the Western powers and Russia. A former Soviet republic, Ukraine has deep cultural and economic and political bonds with Russia. In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea, a part of Ukraine, and it is keen not to let the country become more aligned with with Western institutions, chiefly NATO and the European Union. Hey, Miss Virginia, how are you? I'm glad to see you in here. Ukraine has long played an important yet sometimes overlooked role in the global security order. Today, the country is on the front lines of a renewed great power rivalry that many analysts say will dominate international relations in the decades ahead. In recent elections, Ukrainians have clearly indicated that they see their future in Europe, but the country continues to grapple with extreme corruption and deep regional rifts that could impede its path. Meanwhile, Russia's aggression in Ukraine has triggered the greatest security crisis in Europe since the Cold War. Though the US and its allies have taken significant punitive actions against Russia during the 7-year-old conflict, they have made a little headway in helping to restore Ukraine's territorial integrity. A buildup of Russian military forces along the border with Ukraine in late 2021 stoked fears that Moscow was preparing for a large-scale invasion of its neighbor, although the Kremlin has denied this. You know, Ukraine was part of the USSR, and luckily they broke away. So did several other regions. They were able to actually get out from under, the Russian banner, so to speak. They kind of done like the US did with Great Britain back in the day. And I know y'all get tired of me talking about it, but this is something we need to stay on top of. It really is. Okay. Now, we're, that was part of the historical point, on Russia and the Ukraine. And last night and yesterday, I was actually going to do a video on this yesterday, but yesterday was a mess. Even though I was able to go live last night, but apparently I have too much in my storage on my telephone, so therefore I can't do, long videos. I looked up, just out of curiosity to see who the U.S. allies are. And, on this page that I was looking on, it says the United States stands out to many around the world as the country their own nation can rely on most. To a new Pew Research Center survey, pluralities or majorities in around half of the 17 countries where an open-ended question was asked named the U.S. as their most dependable ally going forward. At the same time, substantial shares of people in some countries also, also perceive Washington as their greatest threat. As far as the U.S., 82% Israel is an ally. South Korea 71, Philippines 64, Japan 63, Canada 46, Australia 38, Kenya 35, Brazil 32, Nigeria 27, Mexico 27, South Africa 24, India 21, Indonesia 16, Argentina 15, Lebanon 10, Tunisia 6, Turkey 2. You know, that's people that consider us an ally. Hey, Bug Dude, how are you? I'm glad to see you in here. And I mean, we all know, that there's a majority of these countries that do not trust the United States. And you know what? I honestly can't blame them, especially with Potato Head in office. We all put down Potato Head. We really do. And I'm not necessarily sticking up for the man, but he has a lot of medical issues and he should not be in office. He's only just a puppet. That's all he's ever been, is a puppet. Whether it's China behind him or the number 44. And I think it might be a combination of both. All right. Now comes the fun part. So I wanted to do a little American history. Anybody that knows me knows I am a complete history buff. I agree, Bug. I really do. And, it's sad they'll never be prosecuted for it because they are the. All right. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which will them to separation. See, even back in 1776, we were given the right to do what we think would be best with the government. The government is here to serve the American people. It's the American people that have the right of this nation, not a president, not a vice president, not a Department of Defense, not Congress. These people were elected by the people. Ooh, I sound like I'm up on my soapbox, don't I? But, if we had an uprising, and we took our stand, I honestly believe the powers that be would not back down. honestly believe it would be the biggest conflict this country's ever seen. I mean, Potato Head threatened to use nuclear force, and F-16, well, he didn't threaten to use nuclear force. He threatened to use our own army against us. You know, how can our government be so self-serving? It it broke my heart because you study history and you read up on this, you see the values that this nation was founded on. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that amongst these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that government long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evidences a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, is their right. It is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over the states. To prove this, lest facts be submitted to a candid world. I completely agree, Bug. You too, Miss Southern Belle. Thank you. I completely agree. You know, they get that little bit of taste of power, and that's it. That's all they want is the power and the money. In my opinion, the Congress and all get paid way too much. They become millionaires and billionaires off taxpayers' money. And I'll read it in a few minutes, but in the Constitution, it states that a president is not supposed to have any kind of outside income besides the check that he receives from, being president. Hello, Callie King. How are you? But we all know that um, Potato Head's been getting money from outside sources. It's not directly in his name, it's in his family's name. You know, I hadn't looked at his net worth, but pretty sure it's pretty high. But let's move on. Okay. This is to do with the Constitution of the United States. I actually found a lot of good information in this. You know, in my opinion, everyone should know their rights. And the Constitution, you know, lays out our rights as citizens of the United States. Excuse me. The need for the Constitution grew out of problems with the Articles of Confederation, which established a firm league of friendship between the states and vested most power in a Congress of the Confederation. This power was, however, extremely limited. The central government conducted diplomacy and made war, set weights and measures, and was the final arbiter of disputes between the states. Crucially, it could not raise any funds itself and was entirely dependent on the states themselves for the money necessary to operate. Each state sent a delegation of between 2 and 7 members to the Congress, and they voted as block, each state getting one vote. But any consequence required a unanimous vote, which led to a government that was paralyzed and ineffectual. A movement to reform the Articles began, and invitations to attend a convention in Philadelphia to discuss changes to the Articles were sent to the state legislators in 1787. In May of that year, delegates from 12 of the 13 states, Rhode Island sent no representatives, convened in Philadelphia to begin the work of redesigning government. The delegates to the Constitutional Convention quickly began work on drafting a new constitution for the United States. Excuse me. The Constitutional Convention. A chief aim of the Constitution as drafted by the Convention was to create a government with enough power to act on a national level, but without so much power that fundamental rights would be at risk. One way was this accomplished was to separate the power of government into 3 branches, and then to include checks and balances on those powers to assure that no one branch of the government gained supremacy. This concern arose largely out of the experience that the delegates had with the King of England and his powerful parliament. The powers of each branch are enumerated in the Constitution, with powers not assigned to them received to the states. The process set out of the Constitution for its ratification provided for much popular debate in the states. The Constitution would take effect once it had been ratified by 9 of the 13 state legislators. Unanimity was not required. During the debate over the Constitution, 2 factions emerged: the Federalists, who supported adoption, and the Anti-Federalists, who opposed it. James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay set out an eloquent defense of the new Constitution in what became to be called the Federalist Papers, published anonymously in the newspapers, the Independent Journal, and the New York Packet, under the name Holubus, between October 1787 and August 1788. The 85 articles that comprised the Federalist Papers remain to this day an invaluable resource for understanding some of the farmers' intentions for the Constitution. The most famous of the articles are number 10, which warns of the dangers of factions and advocates a large republic, and number 51, which explains the structure of the Constitution, its checks and balances, and how it protects the rights of the people. Lord, that was a lot to read. And I mean, I know that none of us is, not all of us is ever going to agree. That's part of being a free nation. Thank you, Miss Roots. I try. Sometimes I get tongue tied. But we're able to agree and disagree and, agree to disagree. That's just how our country is. And the powers that be is trying to rip this from us. Our freedom of speech, our, 2A rights, and everything, before we know it, it's on be, we're not going to have any money in the banks. Or either they're going to lock it down where we can't get to our money. Excuse me. All right. Now we on the Constitution. Section 1, Congress. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in the Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. The House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of the several states, and the electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors and the most numerous branch of the state of legislature. No person shall be a representative who shall not have attained to the age of 25 years and be seen being 7 years a citizen of the United States, and who shall not, when elected, be inhabitant of that state in which he shall be chosen. And, it goes on to, explain that fully. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, chosen by the legislature thereof for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. Here comes the interesting part. Immediately after they shall be assembled in consequence of the first election, they shall be divided as equally as may be 3 classes. The seats of the senators of the first class shall be vacated at the expiration of the second year. Second class at the expiration of the fourth. Oh, this ain't the plan. It was still interesting. Of the second class at the expiration of the fourth year, and of the third class at the expiration of the sixth year, so that 1/3 may be chosen every second year. And if vacancies happen by resignation or otherwise during the recess of the legislature of any state, the executive thereof may make temporarily appointments until the next meeting of the legislature, which shall then fill such vacancies. Then it goes on to the elect and the power and duties of Congress, rights and disabilities of members, the legislative process, and the powers of Congress, powers denied Congress, creation of importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit, shall not be prohibited in the Congress prior to year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation not exceeding $10 for each person. So see, even Congress is supposed to be taxed. No, and this is section 10, powers denied to the states. No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title nobility. No state without the consent of the Congress lay any impost or duties on imports or exports except what may be absolutely necessary for executing its inspection laws, and the net produce of all duties and imposts laid by any state on import exports shall be for the use of the Treasury of the United States, and all such laws shall be subject to the revision and control of the Congress. Then it goes on, to other different, the Article 2, and talking about the electors. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may form time to time, ordain and establish, the judges both of the supreme and inferior courts shall hold their offices during good behavior, and shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. They really should, Miss Virginia. I mean, how can we know what our rights is if we do not study up on this stuff? I mean, yeah, we have the news media, shouting, we have this right, we have that right, but who can honestly say that they trust MSM? I know I sure don't. My TV doesn't, I don't even turn on my TV anymore unless it's to watch wrestling or, one of the TV shows that I watch. But, here the government is, trying to take all our rights. And if we don't stand up for, what we believe in, what our rights are, who's going to? Because it's sure not going to be our senators and our Congress and, God forbid, Potato Head. Like I said, he's already sold us out. Y'all bear with me. I'm walking through the house to go outside. What is it, Lucy? But they really are. I mean, when Brian Kemp, announced that he was running for, governor of Georgia, you know, I never really gave, you know, governors much thought since since I turned 18. The only um election I ever voted for was president. Because president's commander in chief. They the big wig. But Brian Kemp come to the little bitty town, that I live in. I mean, he himself came. And, so that gave me my respect, even though I couldn't go that day because I was working, and because most people that's running for election, just ignore the smaller towns. But I can guarantee you one thing, he'll never get my vote again. We do have a lady that's running this upcoming time that I actually went to school with her husband. So, I've met her on several occasions, and this was before, she announced that she won it. And she's, excuse me, and she seems to have, a good head on her shoulders. Hey, Von Eric, how are you? And that's not to say that she might get in there and, disappoint me. But I honestly hope that she does it. She has my vote. And truthfully, up until the last two elections, I didn't know if I was Republican or Democrat. Because, used to, what is considered Republicans now used to be the Democrats. And what was the Democrats were the Republicans. But I got no, because I always swore, I'd vote for whoever I thought, should be in. But he was Republican, and I never paid attention to the fact that it was a Republican. I've never, I have never seen a man or a group of people so hell bent on destroying a nation, whether it be the United States or anywhere else in the world. As bad as I hate to say it, I compare our government to ISIS or, their predecessors. How many U.S. presidents has ever left any of our armed forces in the shape that they're in? Now they have to have the jab or, they can't be a member of the military services. Even though, the Supreme Court put a stay on that decision. They flat out turned it down, but you know as good as I do that they don't find some kind of loophole. I guarantee you they have lawyers working 24 hours a day to find a way to be able to institute this. Maybe, I'm going down a rabbit hole here. I'm pretty sure I am, but it is what it is. What what if with this jab and this quote unquote pandemic, they are trying to condition us for something bigger? Excuse me a minute. Our older dog has problems getting up and down the doorstep, so he stands there and barks. He come up the steps. Good job. Sometimes he just needs a little encouragement. But what if they're conditioning us for something bigger? What if that person in Pennsylvania was not meant to find what they found, or for it to be released to the public that it was found? Operation Dark Winter wasn't done just for fun. That's my opinion. And y'all all know I try to, watch what I say because I don't want to lose this channel. But sometimes stuff needs to be said. That's honestly the way I feel. But I've said it, and a lot of other content creators have said it. We have that gut feeling that something's going to go down. And I mean, that I've heard several. As a matter of fact, the Appalachian Homestead with Pantera was talking today about, it's end times. And I honestly believe it. I believe that white horse is riding. We just haven't realized who it is yet. Because, you know, everything's coming together. Just like the Bible says it is supposed to. Thinking about, because, the people do lives on Saturday night, maybe do rabbit hole Saturdays. What y'all think about that? Or what if Saturdays? I won't be able to tomorrow night because we're having our Christmas parade and all here in town. And exciting news. Um, my daughter and son-in-law and I are going to be doing a time to sit down and write out script, and we're hoping to be able to start filming on that tomorrow. Weather willing. I hope it's going to be. Um, we've got you know we've got it pretty much down pat what we want to do. Yes, ma'am. I I love Ghost Channel. I can't get into the camp. I don't know why. That's always been something that, well, number one, I can't do. I haven't learned how to do, I should say. So y'all have to forgive me. My nerves is bad today. Um, I had a hysterectomy earlier in the year, and it's kind of got me willy wonky. um, and two, I'm worried about that trip. We're leaving the 30th, and I really do not want to be in New York State for New Year's. My parents always taught me New Year's, you got to be close to home. I mean, this was even back, during the 80s and the 90s. Funny thing. I'm sure y'all remember Y2K. The whole computer switching and whatnot. We was on lose lights and everything else. My oldest daughter was over a year old. Well, over 2 years old, excuse me. And we was all at my mom's house, and mom's family come out. They were all partying, and 12 o'clock midnight hits, and my uncle hits the main breaker on the house, and everything goes, you know, dead quiet and dark. And it freaked my mom out. My mom was not one that was easily scared, you know, but he eventually turned the lights back on, and we all had a good laugh off of it. That is when I first learned about, you know, Mom kept our pantry, stocked completely. We had food in just about every closet in the house. And living where we lived, which my dad still lives out on the same property, just in a different location on the property, um, had access to, water sources. So between the ponds and the creek, and there's 3 wells on the property, and one's it's a old well. It's got one of the it's a well, that you can take and put the shoulder thing on, with the old roll thing, where you put the bucket on and lower the bucket down, which I always thought was cool as a kid. I'm hoping after the first of the year to get started on my bug out camper, and be able to get it set up and whatnot. It's a good time to actually, move it out to the property with it being winter and whatnot. All the grass and all is dying. And I'm actually going to set it up where it'll be camouflaged. You won't be able to see it from the road. The only place that you'll be able to see it from will be my dad. It's just basically for like a older couple or a single person. So it's pretty nice. I mean, you can't beat free. You don't argue with free. I might have to get padlocks for it though. And I'm actually thinking about boarding up most of the windows. In which, if I was actually to get out there and clean out the building at my dad's. I could live in it. All we'd have to do is put in plumbing and whatnot. I could eat, with my dad and my stepmom, just to have a bigger space. And I might do that, and give my oldest daughter and son in law the camper. I'm just hoping and praying nothing pops off before he can get back down here. In which, if something does pop off, he'll be up with his family. So he should be okay. I just worry. I adopted him too. Y'all got anything on your minds y'all might want to talk about and discuss? Heard any news or anything that I hadn't heard? Sometimes I just feel like I'm rambling on here. My son-in-law actually wants me to go live with him on TikTok tonight, and I ain't too sure about that, but hey, why not give it a try? I told him he'd have to wait till after Prepper Tribes live though. I try to support channels, other channels, and I really enjoy Prepper Tribes lives, his and Hutch's, and I miss Natives lives. I miss them scenario Mondays. Y'all hear? I know y'all hear the dogs barking off in the distance. But we had an hour and 2 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and call it. I'm gonna go watch wrestling here in about an hour. It really has, Von Eric. It's really went up. Um, it's crazy. These small towns, crime's gone up, and that's one reason why I try to stay at home as much as I can. And we'll be going through some big cities on our way up to New York, in which we'll be about 45 minutes outside of New York City. But I'm still. Mm, if I'd known that I was gonna be going to New York City, I would have went ahead and got my permits and whatnot to carry. But all right, I'll see y'all soon. If I don't see y'all tonight, y'all have a good night. And like I said, I won't be doing nothing tomorrow, being we'll be working on the mini movie and we'll be at the Christmas parade. I might go live during the parade. That way y'all can watch it. If not, I'll take and do it on TikTok. That way, I can send it over here. But y'all have a good night if I don't see y'all. But y'all make sure to share and subscribe. I know y'all are subscribed, but hit that thumbs up button, please. I think I'm getting lost in the algorithm. But y'all have a good night. God bless. Keep prayed up and keep prepped up.